Hello everybody and happy Friday the 13th. A lot of people are coming on here today on unboxing the Friday the 13th Blu-ray tin. I can't say that I am. I wish I could say that I was, but I'm not. I don't have. What I do have, however, is this edition. It's not Blu-ray, but it is pretty freaking awesome looking. This is the Friday the 13th limited edition set that came out with the Paramount films. So it's the Ultimate Paramount Collection. Or as I like to call it, the actual good Friday the 13th films. So today we are going to talk about the Friday films. I'm going to go through them and give you my overall feel on them, and maybe we'll rank them. Seems like we're going to get a lot of these on YouTube today, so hopefully I can bring a little something different. A little bit of that spicy meatball to the table. Hopefully I can do it without ever having to do that again. Just saying. Yeah. Anyway, Friday the 13th is Sean S. Cunningham's baby, and basically he made it as kind of a buffer period movie to make, he wanted to get his soccer movie made. He liked doing the children's style films, and the soccer movie was going to be his big franchise in which he would move from the film to maybe other films, and maybe even a TV series, a la Bad News Bears. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. But this did, and much to the chagrin of many of the people that worked on it, who had hoped that it would see limited release, and that would just be one of those things on the resume that could easily be forgotten. Oh, how you were wrong. The first film is very different than the original, and there's a spoiler alert right here. I'm going to get into some very spoilerific stuff, so spoil time. The original Friday the 13th film starts in Camp Crystal Lake. Basically, at the opening of the film, we see two camp counselors killed by an unseen person. Now, in the original script for Friday the 13th, that person was supposed to have a finger cut off. That didn't get into the actual movie. Probably because more effects that they really didn't need, and that wasn't actually needed. The first one is a mystery of sorts. In most slasher movies, and especially circa 1980s, you would find that the mysteries would have, if not clues, a character that was actually in the film before they got unmasked. Friday the 13th is a seminal slasher film, and in such it kills people in neat and unique, cool ways. We start out with the teenagers in the woods. They're up at Camp Crystal Lake. Basically, it's been closed down for years. There had been a drowning there earlier. After that, the water had been poisoned, and the camp has pretty much been pretty cursed for a long while now. But now we have a new bunch of teenagers up there. They're ready to become camp counselors. So Steve Christie, the owner of the property, is trying to bring it back up to code so that he can do it. There is an allusion to the fact that Christie and Alice, the main character of the film, may have had some sort of romantic dalliance earlier in the film that she's trying to forget. Watch the movie again, you probably notice the sequence I'm talking about. Now, there's a lot of surface stuff in Friday the 13th, and let's be honest, it's a slasher film, and it's meant for fun. Siskel and Ebert, they kind of didn't like Friday the 13th. And that's kind of an understatement, but Google it, you'll see the whole rigmarole about that. Friday is a fun film, and when most people think of Friday the 13th, and they think of Jason Voorhees. Now, Jason Voorhees and his infamous hockey mask, of course, was not the original killer in Friday the 13th. For that, we would have, and there's big spoilers, his mother, Pamela Voorhees, for Jason had drowned, and that was the catalyst for what had happened. She was the cook. Her her little boy had drowned when two camp counselors were having sex instead of watching him, and she was down on the moral degradation of teenage camp counselors since then, and had done her best to keep the camp closed, poisoning the water, killing the two camp counselors we saw at the beginning, and eventually killing pretty much everybody there before, at the end of the film, getting beheaded by Alice herself. Now, Friday the 13th original, even to this day, has a pretty good pace. It doesn't really drag anywhere. The soundtrack is actually pretty incredible. I love the incidental music of Friday the 13th, and it's classic by now. It's the genre. It's perfect for the film. It's iconic in the slasher genre. And I will be right back. And I'm back and cursing my phone. Just watch, it'll ring again because good things like this always comes in threes. So the Friday the 13th original film is a pretty classic film right now. Of course, as we all know, it's one of the things that helped give Kevin Bacon his rise. That would become more so in Footloose, but people would go back and see this movie and see a young Kevin Bacon, even if at the time he probably didn't want to talk about it a lot. Again, this was a great film. Adrienne King was, well, she still is a beautiful girl, and she did a great job in the first Friday the 13th film. She set the tone for the heroines to come. And let's go straight to part 2. In part 2, we have Amy Steele taking over as when, shockingly enough, King is killed in the beginning of the film by Jason, who is now a grown man. Let's go back a little bit. At the end of Friday the 13th, Alice is kind of, well, she's kind of out of it, and she's in a little boat on Crystal Lake when Jason, a young rotted Jason corpse thing, comes up, jumps up and like scares her, but then it's all seemed to be maybe a dream, and we see her in the hospital where she says, well, basically she's told that they didn't see any little boy, and she says, well, then he's still out there. Well, in this one we find out that he was still out there, but not going the zombie route of it, thank God. They had it basically that Jason made it to the other side of the lake. For some reason didn't go back to his mom. She was a little crazy after all, so maybe there was some of those things beforehand that he didn't want to go back to. Maybe going back to the mom was kind of like not a good thing. Maybe this was a mixed blessing that went to the other side. Anyway, either that or he had such a horrible sense of direction and he never found his way, but he had enough smarts to actually make a cabin, and of course it's mentioned in the first film that Jason is Mongoloid, and basically kills animals and eats them so that he can survive. Now apparently Jason has seen his mother beheaded. We assume, it's talked about in the film, that the character of Jenny talks about the fact that how it could scar Jason and how he was probably mentally stunted and angry, and how she feels kind of sorry for him. But she won't feel sorry for him for very long, because it's not long before all these teenagers that have come up here again to this the Crystal Lake, because mass slaughter isn't enough to keep you from going to a place. Actually, to be honest with you, mass slaughter would make me want to go to a place. Not that I want to run into a killer, but morose curiosity. Anyway, number 2, I think, is actually better in so many ways than the first one. Of course, we have a lot of interesting death sequences that we've seen somewhere before. Somewhere like... Mario Bava's Twitch of the Death Nerve, Bay of Blood. Yes, it's an original film. But it is a great film. It is fun. It pretty much doesn't stop. There's nudity in this one again, and it's good nudity. Russell Todd, who was a Earl would become a soap opera actor. He acted as Jamie on Jimmy Corey on Another World, and in some of the soap operas as well. Of course, we have Amy Steele as Jenny in this one, and she does a great job. She's a psychology student. She really understands the character of Jason, and she actually manages to confront Jason and trick him. Because remember, this is Jason as most people remember. The Jason that we see in this movie, however, is not that Jason. The Jason that we see in this movie, however, is a hooded Jason. Kind of like The Towns of Red Sundown, that type of thing. Yeah. And I found it very effective. Actually, I found the hood creepier than the iconic hockey mask. I know, sacrilege, right? But I did. There are some things that aren't tied up too great at the end of the film, but overall, it's a fun thrill ride, and the second one is definitely an improvement over the first one with just maybe some more likable actors in this one, a little bit of a stronger plot when it comes to the psychology, and a better killer. As much as we like to like the killer of Pamela Voorhees, let's be honest, we didn't really know anything about her until the end of the film. Anything that we find out later about Pamela Voorhees is found out through exposition throughout the other sequels. But in the original Friday the 13th film, she shows up, she's a friend of the Christies, she said that her son was killed, and that they should never open the camp, and she kills them, and she goes to kill everybody. Well, she has killed everybody at that point except for Alice, and then she gets beheaded. And it's very manly hands. It's a stunt actor. Before I do part 2, 3, and 4, let's break this up a bit. So we're going. This is the first 2-part retrospective. We're going to do the next at least 3 and 4. I'm not sure if we're going to get 5 and the rest into that one, but let's break this up into a little series of Friday the 13th movies. Happy Friday the 13th, guys. Right now it's time for me to grab some tea while this video uploads, and I get ready to talk to you about 3 and 4. And I got some interesting comments on these. At least I think they're interesting. Hopefully you will too. Time for tea.